I knew this guy. He was our printer for the hotel in Chicago, or in Detroit. And 8 Mile was notorious. You heard of 8 Mile? There's a movie on that.
Yeah.
Well, it's notoriously known. It's kind of like the cutoff between. It was the cutoff between the blacks and the whites. See, the blacks kept coming this way from Detroit, and 8 Mile was city limits, and then Southfield is on the other side of 8 Mile now. The blacks have moved into Southfield. When the whites moved into Farmington, where your uncle lives, and then they keep moving further out. Because Detroit is very segregated. You got the Polacks, you get the Japanese, you get the Chinese. Everybody's got their own little area, but the whites and blacks have the blacks, well, you have to look at it this way. We had blacks living down the street, and they could live on our street, and I knew what I was paying. They could certainly afford to live on my street. I mean, I didn't have any problem. They weren't unless they were drug dealers and shit. I mean, and that shit goes on. But we went to see, this guy I knew had, he was 10 years older than me. He was Canadian. He and his partner went crazy finally. He was in Vietnam, and he just went nuts.
Like what kind of nuts? You mean like shoot up the place nuts?
Well, he just one night went off the
reservation.
No, he was a white guy.
No, that's a
yeah, he got his guns out and he was shooting up the town. Got in all kinds of trouble. And anyway, his partner, who happened to just be a friend of mine, because we got to know each other, and he always had tickets he had all these seats to go to the Lions, Detroit Lions, because he was an avid football fan, so they had season tickets. They had like 6 season tickets to take their customers, so he'd take me every once in a while, and in fact we went to opening day out at the stadium in Pontiac. That's where the basketball team plays, I think, unless they play in downtown now, I'm not sure, but it was a weird stadium, inflatable stadium. But I don't know, we went to a ball game, and it was actually just the two of us. I was with him, and he drove a Triumph TR6 or something, hot little sports car in those days, really nice. And he goes, let's go down to 8 Mile and get a beer and see some titties,
Yeah.
And I said, fine. And so I said, we started to open the door of this one place. He said, this is a pretty good place to go. And I said, fine, I don't care. You know the place better than I do. And we couldn't get the door open, and we had to knock on the door. And so the guy looked like a peephole, And so the guy says, "You guys cops?" We said, "No." Give us your. And he made us give us his ID, and then he let us in and shut the door and locked it. And we paid a $10 cover or whatever it was at the door. And then I just, just happened to look over, and I looked over here, and I turned around to the guy. I was like, "You see what the fuck's going on?" And these women were spread eagle, and guys had their faces in their muff. And you can just imagine what was going on there. It was crazy. It was really crazy. And we were there for a while, and then we left because I was afraid. I mean, if the cops had come in there, everybody would have been arrested in that joint. They finally got closed, I know. They closed and reopened and closed a couple of times. That girl that your mom worked with, her husband, who was Ann's best friend for such a long time, her husband actually ran a club down there on 8 Mile. There was a bunch of them down there at one time. I don't know what's down there now, but there was a ton of them. And there was one we used to go in for lunch, because it was it was kind of an interesting place. It was kept up really nice, and they had, every place you went down, these clubs, most of them ones had, you know, valet parking and stuff, which sometimes I'd go for and sometimes I wouldn't, but cause you never know what to take your car and do with it, you know. But anyway, we just got this place, and I never, you know, the purchasing agent used to take me to lunch every once in a while, or we'd go out